All right, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. That's right. We had a little bit of a delay. I've been losing power all day, and so it was kind of touch and go there for a little bit until we were able to get things started. And we are here. Welcome to RickCast on this beautiful Monday, the 28th of April, 2024. And I hope you're having a wonderful Monday night because I am. Now that I am here with you, my wonderful, wonderful people. We got a great show for you. New details on the DC helicopter crash. English speaking truckers are now mandated, apparently. Mastercard is going crypto, which I think is weird. And we're going to discuss Shedeur Sanders dropping in the draft. Of course, with a couple of hot takes as well. Let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. My normal bar rats will probably not be here because the whole time change and everything's a little bit different tonight. So I forgive them for now. Obviously, it's not completely okay. You know, like I said, since I'm a good and just moral man, I'll be okay with it. But outside of that, we'll see how it goes. I know my person on Twitch, you're always there, and I always appreciate you. So let's take a look here. Yes, we got power. We finally got power. That's my news of the day as far as that's concerned. So let's take a look. I got a couple hot takes here for us to start tonight's show. Because of course I do. The first one is actually kind of interesting and kind of funny, but also kind of weird. And this one's kind of, its ugly head has turned, to be honest. And that is Bill Belichick and his girlfriend. I don't know what she is. It's a weird relationship. It's, first of all, you know, it ruffles feathers because he's 72 years old and she's like 24. All right, do we have a number on here? I think that's pretty much. Come on, we don't. It's the number one thing in every single article. I think she's like 21. She's in her early 20s. Oldest this girl is 25. We know for a fact Bill Belichick's in the 70s. So that's a big thing there. It's a weird thing that's the internet is by storm. Now, of course, I ruffled feathers by saying I cannot condone what two adults do, legally speaking, right? Legally, a 21-year-old and a 72-year-old can date. I think he's like 24. But is it right? No. Is it good? No. Is it weird? Yes. Is it illegal? No. But I don't condone this relationship. I don't think it's a good relationship. I think there's a lot of, like, this girl's exhibiting a lot of daddy issues. And I guess in Bill Belichick's case, grandpa issues, like pawpaw issues, not daddy issues, but pawpaw issues. And it's just weird. She's dressed strangely at all these events. Well, not strange. She's dressed like a 24-year-old. But when she dresses like a 24-year-old next to Bill Belichick, everybody's like, ooh, yikes. That's kind of weird. Like, we don't like that. We don't like that. I don't like that. You don't like that. Nobody likes that. It's just strange, to say the least. So we have that, and Bill was on the tour, and he was interviewed for like Sunday morning or one of those Sunday morning shows, and the question came up about his girlfriend. And this is where everybody's just like, that's interesting. That's very interesting. What do I mean? I'll let you take a look at it, and then you can know. As soon as this thing loads.
Was a constant presence during our
Look
interview.
Look at this thing. What are you doing? Put on some pants. Put on a dress. Put on a trash can. Something. It's just,
You have Jordan right over there. Everybody in the world seems to be following this relationship. They've got an opinion about your private life. It's got nothing to do with them, but they're invested in it. How do you deal with that?
never been too worried about what everybody else thinks. Just try to do what I feel like is best for me and what's right.
How did you guys meet?
Not talking about this.
Interesting. She needs one of the barrels. Something. Cover them legs up, girl. Nobody wants to see that. I know. Everybody's like, oh, you're such a prude. Come on, man. Let's do this. We're not going to talk about that. So, and the best comment I read was she is the Belichick of this relationship. She might as well have said, we're on to Cincinnati. Just like, yeah.
No.
No.
It's a topic not
Look at that. Look at dead eyes right here. Dead eyes. Oof.
either one of them is comfortable commenting on.
Interesting, and I'm not going to say it's a good thing, but an interesting theory has floated about the internet based off of this interview. And I don't know. There's nothing more than Twitter conjecture. But is she a call girl? Is she I mean, in some ways, she kind of is, because, you know, who dates a 74-year-old man, right? Like, what do y'all talk about? And I know that's such a lame, what do you gotta talk about? I get it. People can be whatever they want to be. But the fact of the matter is, like, this is gross. But she might be an escort. You know, Bill's got a lot of money, a lot older. And you know, he's kind of out of the dating league at this point. You know, 72, you're not looking to settle down with anything. And so, right? Like, there's something. She's a sugar baby for sure. For absolutely sure. But is there something more to it? And people are bringing that up, and it's a very interesting concept. Now, I don't want to think about that because, you know, even if this is the creepiest and weirdest relationship I've ever seen, I'd like it to at least be creepy and weird for all the right reasons, which I don't think is a thing. But the fact of the matter is, it could be nothing more than an arrangement. The arrangement makes the most sense. It does. And I know people are going to get on me for it, but it makes the most sense. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Am I completely off my rocker, or does this seem like it would make it? It's the most plausible explanation at this point. It's the most plausible explanation at this point that, you know, she is some kind of, I mean, look at those dead eyes, man. Look at those dead eyes. That is a woman that does not, I mean, I get it. That's my wife would give you the same dead eyes if you start getting a little too personal with her life. She's going to give you those dead eyes too. But I don't know, man. I'm seeing on one of my other screens like that's shoo-wee. That is a woman that does not want you anywhere near her personal life, which, you know, I get. But still, this was an interesting thing. That's what I'm saying. That's why people are bringing this up. Remember, the owner, Bob Kraft, the owner of the Patriots. What did he do? He got busted at one of the Super Bowls in one of these places. Bill and him were very close. You know, it really does, in an awful type of way, make sense that she could be a call girl, a mistress, a high-end escort, a long-term escort to him. You know, she's in college. Ironically, going to the same school that he's coaching at, but that's neither here nor there. And, you know, the agreement is you date Bill Belichick for 4 years. He pays for everything. You don't have to go around and do OnlyFans or do any of this other stuff. You just date him. And then when you graduate, he'll be what, 80? He'll be 80 at that point. He'll, you know, And he probably won't be looking for anybody. And then you can kind of go on your separate ways. You guys can break up or whatever the case may be. But this interview set everybody off because it was just so weird. The fact that she wanted nothing to do with it, the fact that she controlled the interview, the fact that she's pretty much running this relationship. There's pictures on like her social media about like the food she feeds him and all these other kinds of weird things. And so the internet is doing what the internet does, which is sleazy things. And I guess I'm participating in that by doing this, but still the fact is it's kind of, I think a lot of people don't realize that arrangement will work out perfectly for her because it's under this guise of a relationship that she has, and she damaged goods when she gets out of this relationship long term because she'll just say, "Oh, I dated Bill Belichick for a while." And if the guy's here's the crazy thing: if she finds a football obsessed guy, like I have a couple members of my family, they live, eat, and breathe football. That's actually not a bad mark on your resume. Like I dated Bill Belichick. You know, some guy who loves football is gonna be like, "Oh, that's awesome. Like, what was he like?" That's all they're gonna care about. That's all they're gonna care. They're not gonna care about anything else long term. But yeah, that was something very interesting that came up this weekend. That interview with Belichick and how that all came to be. All right, this is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Doing everything I can to bring shows to you guys. Now, the end of the week is going to be a little different because my niece is coming into town. No show Friday. Going to have a recorded show Thursday. And then we'll have a show Monday. So just no show Friday, recorded show Thursday. And then that's it for like this weird, the month of April, beginning of May has just been a cluster. It's been an absolute cluster bang. And we're almost to the end of it. And then we'll be back to regularly scheduled shows. All right, folks, let's get to our second story of the day. I don't know. I think we're just, I'm glad we're on Rumble and I'm glad we're on Getter for this next story because, I'm not here to make friends on this story. I'm really not. And I kind of don't care either that we're going to be doing that. So let me get it set up while it's here. Let me get the setup to you. Where are you? Here it is. Oh, this happened today from thehill.com. Give me that one. You go away, Rajiz, for a second. You jump up. Michigan Democrat files articles of impeachment against Trump. Michigan Democrat Cherie announced Monday that he had filed articles of impeachment against President Trump. And here you go.
Donald Trump has already.
First of all, most people saw this video come out and they said, this is a parody, right? This is not a sitting member of Congress. And then it went a little bit deeper because it is indeed a sitting member of Congress. Now, before the cries of racism, bigotry, and all these other things start to rise from the comment sections across all the platforms we're on, listening to this man, shouldn't people who represent, let's just get the initial theory. Shouldn't people that represent you in government at least have a grasp of the language and not sound like they're trying to upsell you a Slurpee? I mean, this guy is a walking caricature. Now, of course, that's more of a representation of the people that voted for him. But really, you think John Adams, Thomas Jefferson wanted this dude in Congress?
Done real damage to our democracy, but defying a unanimous 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, that has to be the final straw. It's time we impeach Donald J. Trump. The court said the fully deported Kilmer guy must be allowed to return.
This guy's struggling to say everybody's name. This guy's trying to say you guys can't say it. Yeah. Al Green, not the singer, but the guy from Texas, he already said he was going to do it. I think it was really more of a case of trying to get there first so you could get on radio stations and stuff like that. And you can say, I was the first to impeach him. I impeached him first. Yeah, I did. I got you, Donald Trump. I impeach you now. Get out of my store. Come on, man. If you don't want me to make fun of you, speak the language better. I don't go to India and try to become the prime minister. Yeah, I mean, it's that simple. I ain't trying to be the prime minister of India. You know, there's like 5 million Indians on visas here. Or, yeah, I think it's like 5 million visas. So, it is a thick accent. A 9-0 Supreme Court? Unacceptable.
And receive due process. Trump ignored it. He ignored the Constitution. He ignored the very checks and balances that keep our democracy intact.
Let me ask you a question. You think this guy does anything about the Constitution or the checks and balances? Any of them? Let me if you're like, hey man, what's Article 2 of the Constitution? What's Article 2 with the checks and balances? What's that? Name Article 3. Who has control over the judiciary? Judiciary has the Senate has control over the judiciary. But and this is Indians, right? Y'all work at my company. I will say this: when my wife got her master's from TCU, some of the other students that worked there, some of the best of them, they were Catholic, by the way. They were Catholic Indians. Those guys were great. Those guys were rock solid. I'd take any of those guys. Not this guy. It's true. It's true. But at least they're American. At least they're Native American stupid idiots. Jasmine Crockett. You ask Jasmine Crockett what the 3 branches of government are. She's like, I don't know no tree. I don't know what tree you are talking about, boy. It's like, okay, whatever. Let's finish out this nonsense.
This isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a dangerous, deliberate pattern. That's why today I introduced a resolution to Donald J. Trump, outlining 7 articles of impeachment.
He failed to return the gift card. He failed to return the gift card. He overpumped on gas. Anyway, it is in that regard just absolutely pathetic. And that's one of the reasons why people need to take the midterm seriously. I don't care about politics. I don't. But if you don't want to see this nonsense round the clock, if Democrats somehow manage to get back control of the House, if that's how it's going to be, they will be impeaching him. They will be impeaching him. And this guy, Rajesh from Big Bang Theory, is going to be running around on every interview with his bad haircut, trying to pretend that, you know, he knows a thing or two more than you or I. But he found a loophole somewhere because now he is a member of the House of Representatives, the People's House, if you will. Not that that's a good or a bad thing. All right, folks, this is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Let's talk about Pope Francis. Let's talk. I'm not talking about the College of Cardinals. This show is staying true. I went after on X to my own detriment, trying to tell people not to do the hot takes and not to be DEI for the Pope. We need a black Pope. No, we need a Pope that's right with God. I kind of like Joe Enders. I like Joe Enders. I think he's a good dude. I have no problem with Joe. Joe, and fun fact, I don't think Joe will care that I said this. For about a couple months, him and I were thinking about doing a debate show together for a couple nights a week. We were going to call it the Devil's Advocate, and we had everything in place, but he just had his baby. You know, he has a beautiful baby and just started a job and stuff like that. So it never went through, but I like Joe. And I think Joe has a really good take on this. Like, he doesn't want a theologically sound Pope. Not meaning, I may be, Joe, if you're watching this, I'm not trying to take your words out of context. He's not looking for an academic as a Pope. He's looking for somebody who is strong in the faith. And I like it. I like that idea. I really like the idea of having just a Pope that is on fire for the faith And that's some people's arguments for Cardinal Sarah. I don't think Cardinal Sarah is because he's too much of a social media star. I don't think he'll get it just because there was a guy on X who's like, believe me, the guys, they watch social media, and anybody they promote, they're not going to do. I don't think Sarah has a chance to be Pope. Although Taylor Marshall did make a good argument that even if he is, my big thing is he's 80. But then again, Pope St. John the 23rd was 81, I believe, when he got elected in the 60s. Then again, look how well that went out. But if you get 10 years of Cardinal Sarah and he's just on fire for the faith, would most of you take that? I think I would take that. Then again, if I could get a really masculine Pope in his 60s, I'd be happy with that too. But like I said, that's it. The conclave starts the 6th. I was talking to the Catholic Traveler today. Just back and forth. He thinks the conclave's going to take like 3 days. He thinks that you'll have it. The thing they gather on the 7th. He thinks you're going to have a new Pope by the 9th, which is very interesting. He's on the ground. He knows the players in Rome because he lives there. So he kind of has a general gist of what's going on inside the Vatican. Not like inside, but he has a better idea than I do. So it's very interesting. He thinks it's not going to be a long conclave. For some reason, and I've been wrong more than I've right, just how I played it. I have a feeling it's going to be a contentious one because it's so critical post Francis that the conservatives are going to want to make, and I'm putting this in the American lens, and I give everybody else crap for it. So I apologize for doing it. But if you're more of the conservative, liturgy-based, magisterium-based, not progressive, Francis, Vatican II, you're going to want to try and change course. You can't, if you're them, you can't have 2 Francises in a row. And if you're from the Francis school of thought, you don't want them to roll back what he's done. So I think it's going to be more contentious than people realize. Who knows? They pick a new Pope in like 3 days. We don't know. We have no idea. Of course, I don't know about you. This would be my 4th Pope. Which, you know what I mean? It's very interesting. I just watched I got a lot of stuff out of Marshall's clip, but Marshall was like, Dr. Taylor Marshall doesn't want a 30-year Pope after Francis. He wants, 10 years, shorter pontificates. I don't know how I feel about that. I think we need stability. If we get if you get a good one, I'm not going to name names because we all sound stupid when we name names. If you get a good one, right, a quote unquote good one, as Joe Ender says, who's on fire for the faith, who wants the faith to be rediscovered, don't you want him in office for as long as possible? That's kind of my issue. Anyway, so Pope Francis's funeral this weekend, and I have some problems with it. And I'm not trying to be a jerk about this, although my reputation is, I'm Schrodinger's reputation. It's either terrible or great, depending on how people want to assail me. You're ruining your reputation, but people think I have negative outlooks to begin with. So is it negative or not? I don't know. I'm not a fan of the way Pope Francis's funeral. Now, the funeral at St. Peter's, befitting of a pontiff. Beautiful. It shows the majesty and beauty of the church. The pictures from there were absolutely breathtaking. Being driven, the first big point is the fact that Pope Francis, one of the biggest eco warriors on the planet, being driven to his final destination by a Dodge Ram is kind of hysterical. Shows God does have a sense of humor. And then secondly, this thing. Oh, I know the blue suit. Who cares? Trump wore a blue suit. A bunch of other people wore different shades of blue. It's the bird seed thing all over again. Remember the Prime Minister of Japan when he said the bird seed thing? It's the bird seed thing all over again. It's stupid. But I don't know how I feel about this. First of all, I've been to Rome twice. I'm going to be in Rome, and I'm going to go back to Rome the end of this year. Because my wife and I, we just were lucky enough to do it. We've been in the crypt where all the other popes are. And Francis and everybody kept saying, oh, his grave is so humble. Oh, he's so humble in his grave. Oh, it doesn't make sense, because when you go to Rome and you're in St. Peter's and there is a crypt of popes. I should have gotten the pictures ready. I didn't think I was going to talk about this, but there's an entire floor, and you can Google this, crypt of the popes, and they all surround St. Peter. You can't go to where Peter's bones are, but there's a viewing glass and you can see down where his bones are. And then around him, it's Pope John Paul II, St. Pope John Paul the 23rd, Pope Benedict, Pope this. You could see popes all the way back to some of the very first pontiffs are there. And I'm thinking now that Francis is not humble by doing this. I know, I'm going to ruffle some feathers. First of all, this doorway that existed in St. Mary Maggiore was, what was it? It was a door for Pope Paul VI. Pope Paul the Paul VI from 1605 to 1621. It was a beautiful passage made of ancient material. It was in St. Mary Maggiore. And it's gone now. It's gone for Francis to be front and center, to be the only pope in St. Mary Maggiore. I don't like that. It's kind of the same thing that Pope Francis did throughout his pontificate. He got rid of the chair. He got rid of the vestments. He did all he's actually thrown the conclave into a really difficult position, because he stayed where his office was built by, I believe, St. Pope John Paul II to house the cardinals for the conclave. But since he died there, it's all taped up, and there are floors that he rearranged and rebuilt, because that's where he worked. He didn't work in the Apostolic Palace, where his apartment was. The Pope's apartment was. So now they don't know where to house a certain amount of the cardinals. And so there's that's going on. There's the fact that now he's the only pope at St. Mary Major. Why would you do that? Oh, I love I'm sure Pope John Paul II loved the Holy Mother. I'm sure Pope Benedict loved the Holy Mother. This idea, oh, he loved the Holy Mother so much. Then why would you, and I know, rip me up in the comments if you think I'm being out of line. Why would you, if you're so humble, alter the way that her basilica, St. Mary Major, is dedicated to her? Why would you rearrange anything in her basilica for you? If you're in heaven, you're going to be near her. If you've lived a good life, if you are graced with the holy death and a blessed eternity, you're going to be with the Holy Mother in the beatific vision. Who the hell cares where your casket is? So I don't like this. I mean, I'm going to go see it, but there's nothing humble about his casket versus, he's standing out because he's the only one there. Let me see if I can do this. The crypts of the popes. St. Peter's. I don't want that. You're not gonna show me, are you? No, you're not gonna show me the crypt, are you? No. Right. Are you gonna show me the crypt? Because I don't care about this. Everybody's seen all this. Where's the crypt? Nobody has it. No. Crypto the popes under St. Peter's. I'm just trying to see. Right? That's. I don't know. Am I retarded? I probably am. See, this is the crypt of the popes. If you go under St. Peter's, all of these popes here are entombed under St. Peter's. These are popes that you can see in St. Peter's. They're all there. And that's where, if you go first one, that's St. Peter. When you go down a staircase, he's the first one you'll see. Now, his bones are all the way back there. You can't see them directly. But that's where St. Peter is. And then the rest of them are around. And let me see. Let me show you one. Let me show you Pope Benedict. That's Pope Benedict's grave right there. How much different is that compared to Francis? That's where Pope Benedict, if you go there, that's where Pope Benedict's tomb is, in St. Peter's. And then I think that's Pope, I think that's St. John Paul II. But there's popes throughout the crypt. And so how is that? It just says Benedict Pope PP 16th. All it says. That's his. How is that so much more grand than that? So that's the thing. Having been there, it's actually, and I may get in trouble, please strike me down if you're a priest watching this or if you're a religious watching this and you think I'm out of line. Please send me a message on X, send me a message on Instagram, send me a message on it. Please let me know if I'm being out of line. I will retract this. But this is more grand than any of the other popes. It's his own space. He's not sharing this with anybody else. He's not sharing it with Benedict. He's not sharing it with any of these guys. It's crazy. Like they're all entombed underneath in the crypt, except him. And every time I always stop by Pope Benedict's grave or his tomb. But it's so weird that they went through a lot. Like, being humble is not parading yourself through Rome in the middle of the day for thousands of people to see you. That's what he did. He got in the back of a Dodge Ram and he drove through Rome. They shut down the entire inner part of Rome because St. Mary and St. Paul or St. Peter's are very close to each other, relatively speaking. St. John Lateran is on the hill because it's the first. And then St. Paul outside the walls is the farthest away, one of the four major basilicas. But I don't like it. I know. I don't like it, and I'm sorry if it ruffles feathers. Because you're not with your brother popes. There's only been, I know it sounds like a lot, but there's only been 266. There'll be 267 after this conclave. And yet, as many of them, I mean, not all 266 are underneath the crypt, obviously. At least I don't think so. But the fact of the matter is, it's just nuts how this goes. Anyway, this is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell, and give me a sec. I got you dinner in the fridge. Just let my wife know she's got food in the fridge. She just got home. So I don't even know why I made the screen dark if you guys saw me. Anyway. So who called this meeting? I called this meeting, Lou, and I'm glad you finally made it in attendance. All right, let's get to our first story of the night. Now that we're 46 minutes in. So this is a weird. Oh, come on, Google. My computer's running slow. That's why I'm cussing apparently. Oh, let's see here. Very happy that you are. Story of the night. Black Hawk pilot Rachel Lobach ignored instructions before the mid-air collision over the Potomac River. The pilot of the Black Hawk military helicopter that collided with a passenger airplane over Washington, D.C. in January ignored instructions to change course moments before the crash took place, according to a report by the New York Times. Captain Rebecca Lobart, piloting the Black Hawk, was undergoing an annual flight evaluation at the time, while her co-pilot, Chief Warrant Officer Andrew Lloyd Eves, served as the flight instructor. Now, there's a little bit in the red-headed libertarian, the supposed constitutional expert, was like, well, he may have been saying it, but she was the person in charge, to which every flight instructor was like, guess what? Or everybody in the military was like, guess what? Doesn't matter that she outranked him. He was the instructor on the flight, meaning he had final say and she needed to listen to him. Of course, the red-headed libertarian really doesn't know much about what she's talking about. Anyway, air traffic controllers had warned the helicopter crew about a nearby passenger airline, and both Lobart and Eves acknowledged the warning, opted to proceed under quote-unquote visual separation. This is a method where pilots are allowed to continue flying in the area by using their own observations rather than adhering to instructions from air traffic control. Of course, now, yeah, exactly. Apparently, she didn't want to hear no man tell her what to do. And a lot of people died because of it. So there's a couple of theories that are floating around. The first one is the DEI hire. Not that she wasn't experienced as a pilot, but she was probably not as experienced as other pilots because she was a woman. She was picked over more qualified pilots. Okay, fine. Second one, she was just not, yeah, that's very true. The second one is she deliberately did it by ignoring these instructions, which is terrifying if you think about it. And so there's a lot going on here with this story, especially now. It's been 4 months since it happened, and they're just kind of releasing this now. We don't have the flight control data. We don't have any of this stuff. We don't have the cockpit recorders. I don't think we'll ever get it. But the fact is, this is not going to help any of the people screaming about DEI. The report said the Black Hawk was only 15 seconds from crossing paths with the passenger jet when Eves, that was the instructor, informed Lobach that he believed air traffic control wanted them to turn left towards the East River. Turning left would have opened up more space between the helicopter and flight 53, which was headed for runway 33 at an altitude of roughly 300 feet, and she did not turn left. So, that's an interesting question, Lou. She technically does not have a job. Nobody has a job on that one because they all perished in the flight, and everybody on board the airplane as well. Lobach served as an aviation officer in the Army since 2019 and had around 500 hours of flight time in the Black Hawk. The Army confirmed in a release. She also was a White House military social aide under the Biden regime. And there are rumors about other activity with her. I think those and so it's funny that these things are being brought up now, whether you think it's a legit thing or not. Crash took place on January 29th over the Potomac River, killing all 64 passengers who were on board. All the passengers on the American Airlines flight, as well as the 3 Black Hawk crew members. The helicopter was flying too high at the time of the collision. Multiple layers of safety precautions failed that night. they're going to call it the Swiss cheese theory of safety, meaning, a lot of holes in Swiss cheese. And if you have a block of them, some of the holes line up, and that's how you can get through it. And that's, I guess, another way of trying to put it, but it is what it is. Investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board are expected to issue a final report in 2026. And of course, there's the DEI, the merit-based stuff, all these other things that people are arguing about. Either way, it's a very tasty theory. Hear that, Michael Thomas, especially if you like Swiss cheese, which I actually don't. It's too holy for me. Although I do eat it during Lent. So let's see here. That's the first story of the night. Let's move on to the second story of the night. Kind of goes hand in hand with our representative from the state of Michigan. Man, Michigan is messed up, dude. They got like their own Islamabad. They got this guy representing them. I would be okay if we expelled Michigan from the union. Sorry. What do you guys have there? Motown? The only thing that was good that came out of Michigan in the last 25 years was the movie Four Brothers with Mark Wahlberg and Tyrese. Great movie, by the way. It's on YouTube if you want to watch it. All right, next story up from the LatinTimes.com. To demand all truck drivers speak English in latest executive order, quote, non-negotiable safety requirements. I don't know if it's going to be better truck drivers, but hey, at least when they hit, they'll be able to at least read the sign. Donald Trump is expected to sign an executive order mandating that all commercial truck drivers in these United States must speak English, calling it non-negotiable safety requirement to protect the public roadways. Federal regulation has long required commercial drivers to have English proficiencies, but enforcement has historically been laxed, according to Breitbart. This is also in conjunction with the rise in H-1B visa drivers for on truck driving roadways. There's an account on Twitter. Let me see. Where is he? Jeff used to call himself the middle finger of honesty, but now he goes by something else. He's a truck driver. I'm trying to find his full official name. But if you follow Jeff, he'll tell you, because he's a truck driver, his experiences at night with some of these other truck drivers is pretty bad. They don't understand English. They wear flip-flops when they're driving, which if you're driving a Honda Civic, wearing flip-flops is fine. If you're driving an 18-wheeler, that's not great. And so it's a pretty scary thing when you think about the number of crashes that are taking place on the road right now. And the number of Indian or non-native speakers. Jeff, his name is Catholic Squid on Twitter or on X. If you follow him, he has great stuff about truckers. How have not? Here's the thing: a lot of 18-wheelers aren't 5 speeds anymore. They're not manual; they're automatic, and they're getting certifications because you can get your certification. You don't have to do a lot to get it, and then they're hired by companies at lower wages and let's go. I was not actually I was not aware of this until this year. So, it's kind of crazy how they've been able to get away with this for that long. But then again, it's really the entire H-1B system and how it is just destroyed the job market for Americans. President Trump recently issued an executive order declaring English the official language of these United States, doubling down on a language mandate as part of his broader push to promote shared American culture and streamline government operations. His administration argues that stronger enforcement of English requirement is necessary for safety and national unity. President Trump believes English is non-negotiable safety requirement for English drivers. They should be able to read and understand traffic signs, communicate with safety officers, border patrol, agricultural checkpoints, cargo weight limits, and provide received feedback in all directions in English. Drivers who fail to meet the language standard could be placed immediately out of service. directive also orders who's the head of transportation to improve the commercial driver's licensing authenticity checks and introduce new measures to enhance truckers' working conditions through administrative action. So, yeah, there's an immigrant, a bunch of kids in the Rockies because he burnt up his brakes going down the mountain and couldn't read the signs that said the runoff ramp. Yeah, they don't know how to handle these drivers from sub Asia. Don't understand how to drive up and down mountains. And so it really is a safety hazard, but because people are trying to do it for the cheapest way possible, and the 5-speed doesn't exist, the manual transmission does not exist in trucks anymore, it's a lot easier to become a quote-unquote truck driver. But yeah, good for that. That's a good idea. It should have happened a while ago. And it's a hope. The thing is, all of these things, these drivers, all of these H-1Bs, and I don't think H-1Bs are actually truck drivers. It's a different certification, but it's still illegal immigrant labor because they're not Americans. Illegal immigrant labor taking the place of jobs. There's the trucking industry. There's, if you really want to go down a rabbit hole, check out how many apartment complexes are owned by Indian Americans. This is not me ragging on them. I'm just saying a lot of institutions that you think are American as apple pie, American as McDonald's fries, is actually run by non-Americans. Something to think about in that regard. All right, next story up. Video real quick. Let's see here if I can find it. I had to run these things together because I didn't know how long the power guy was going to get my power fixed.
Full end-to-end integration with stable.
Stop. All right. This might get a little
from wallets to
nerdy,
merchants,
but just give this guy some time. This is about cryptocurrency and Mastercard. Mastercard is the first to introduce the ability to use cryptocurrency. And I'm going to talk about that on the other side of this.
Mastercard just announced full end-to-end integration with stablecoins, making payments from wallets to merchants and checking out your local grocery store possible globally. And this isn't just a niche pilot program. They're rolling this out everywhere. And this is the foundation for stablecoins to mainstream. And it couldn't come at a more important time. The entire ecosystem, there's only one real use case for crypto outside, and that's stablecoins. Everything else is either recently built on Web 2 rails, or worse, and many of you have seen and experienced this, a scam engineered to fleece unassuming retail investors out of their money. Stablecoins are the critical rails on which modern finance will increasingly operate, and soon ported onto Bitcoin and the Lightning Network. In fact, that's already underway. And as that happens, the utility of non-Bitcoin crypto will plummet to zero. We've noticed this with the ETH BTC ratio now at a 5-year low. Everything else other than Bitcoin is being traded by the market as worthless. And stablecoins are the only thing keeping the broader crypto market alive. So the US dollar is the king of fiat. I've said this once, I'll say it again. And if we port the US dollar to Bitcoin, as I said on BTC sessions not a few weeks ago, and we make it the best way to send dollars back and forth to each other, that's eventually hundreds of billions of dollars annually that would need to operate on Bitcoin rails.
So, first of all, what is a stable coin? Stable coin is a type of digital asset designed to maintain a stable value by pegging its worth to a reserve asset such as a fiat currency, like the US dollar, or gold, or basket of assets. So that's what a stable coin is. You guys in the chat room are already there. Guys, they're making it easier to do what? Central digital bank currency. And no offense, you're a very handsome man. This guy doesn't get it. This guy doesn't. It's going to be great because now we're going to be able to use Bitcoin. That means further transition away from physical dollars, closer to a social credit score, closer to you not owning anything and being happy. And people try to come after me because I say Trump is going to usher in CBDC. And somebody, I remember I said this, and somebody on X went, Rick, he signed an executive order against a central digital bank currency. Yeah, in name only, you dunce. He's doing it in real time. He's allowing people, not allowing, but it is being facilitated. Notice how recession fears go up. People are dumping more and more money into crypto. And now Mastercard's going to allow you to use it. Once it works with Mastercard, Visa's going to do it. American Express is going to do it. Apple's going to do it. And after about 5 years of people getting used to it, because it won't go all at once, they're going to say, hey, we don't take physical currency anymore. We don't even take credit card anymore. The only thing we take are stable coins. You can take Bitcoin or whatever else. We only take stable coin. That's it. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen. You have willingly, with your purchase of Bitcoin, well, Rick, it's on a system. And okay, sure. You sit there and you think, because Bitcoin's on a blockchain, it's immune to government malfeasance. Well, I got a bridge to sell you in Arizona. Actually, it's a bridge to some oceanfront property in Arizona. You guys just running head first into central digital bank currency. You're putting more money in it. There it is, Mark. Who's going to be the first company? The U.S. government will be the first. The U.S. government will be the first to transition their employees to stablecoin. I guarantee. Mark it down, April 28, 2025. By the end of Trump's term, you will have the option. It will not be required, but you will have the option to take your paycheck in stablecoin. Now that, because in 4 years, you'll have the ability, that's it, Mark. Yes. If you take stablecoin, you don't have to pay taxes. It's tax-free. Oh my God. Yeah, I'll take stablecoin if I don't have to pay taxes. Absolutely. And they'll be able to do, because it's in DC. Because remember, DC will be its own bubble to do this in, the capital, if you will, from the Hunger Games. All the restaurants and all the apartment complexes, and they'll go to like Loudoun County and stuff like that. They'll all be set up to do exchange stablecoin. And eventually Apple and the big companies will start doing it as well. Schools, because teachers are always bitching about their money. Schools, education department. Actually, now that the Department of Education doesn't exist, I don't know. National parks. If you use stablecoin, you get a discount. You want to go to Yosemite, it's usually $50 a day. Use stablecoin, it's $25 per person instead of 50. I don't know what the prices are. I'm just giving you an idea. They will incentivize you to take stablecoin. And this is the beginning of it. Yeah, it's gonna be great for companies. It's gonna be great for companies. What are you talking about? They won't have to produce. They will save money on their payroll taxes. They'll save money on physical, products and all these other kinds of things. It'll be perfect for them. Perfect. Yep. Yeah. Well, it's gonna get worse. Because they're gonna devalue. That's right. Because the debt's gonna spiral out, and I'm sure Doge has something to do with this. I haven't put that together yet, but Doge will play a part in it as well. But yeah.
And Mastercard is setting the stage for this transition. So they're rolling out a full stack strategy across wallets, merchants, remittances, and settlements. And users can now spend stablecoins like traditional money using MasterCards at over 150 million merchants worldwide.
You people are getting slow walked straight into CBDC, and you don't even see it. You don't even see it. Here's the thing, Mark. They're going to do something with the tax code to make an incentive to use stablecoin. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they have to convince people to go to stablecoin. And if they can waive, maybe if they can lower the tax rate. If you go onto stablecoin, you have a lower tax rate than if you do traditionally. Something. It may not be tax-free like Mark and I are talking about. It may not be tax-free, but they have to incentivize it. They have to incentivize it. Mark, I've just been hanging around Cunningham too long. I've just been hanging around Steve Cunningham too long at this point. All right, so I just wanted to get your guys' eyes on that. I don't see anybody else talking about this because there's an entire section of the conservative movement that is so in love with crypto, they can't see the forest for the trees on this. I've always been wary of crypto coins, but I don't think it's going to work, man. I don't like it. I think it's a dangerous game to be playing. But hey, smarter people are making money on it right now, so good for you. All right, last story of the day here on RickCast. Right? Ironically enough, if they did base it on coin, it would be more stable. Maybe that's another maybe that's a way. Maybe people who have gold, maybe they can transfer it to their Bitcoin. They'll figure out a way to fool the majority of people. They'll figure out a way to do it. All right, folks, of the night, and I'll let you guys go. Thank you guys for my loyal bar rats. You guys came out for me tonight, even though the show started late. Thank you. I know YouTube stinks with the notifications, so it is what it is on that. So let's get to our last story of the night. A little bit of a sports story. So the NFL draft was this weekend, and the big story was Shedeur Sanders dropping to the 5th round. Now, if you don't know anything about Shedeur Sanders, he is the son of Deion Sanders. He played quarterback at Colorado. He was average. He came in 8th in the Heisman voting. He wasn't a standout in any way, shape, or form. But because he was Deion Sanders' kid, everybody believed the hype on him. Everybody believed the hype. He's going to be the next great quarterback. He's amazing. He's going to be in the top 5. He's going to do all of these things. But he didn't. He dropped to the 5th round, pick 144. Yeah, Neon Dean has a couple kids. One of them is a quarterback at Colorado, and one was like a free safety at Colorado. But there was a lot of things that were thrown out there during the drop. Racism, collusion. And so this article, let's see what Tyler Dragon says about Shedeur Sanders falling. There are many layers to why Shedeur Sanders had a precipitous drop in the 2025 NFL draft. Quarterback was forecast to go by many to go in the 1st round. There was no reason based on his stats, his height, his throwing ability, his completion percentage. There was really no reason to say that Shedeur Sanders was a bona fide 1st round pick. He was a 1st round pick because of his dad. Because he was Deion's kid. That's it. I mean, he set a single record for passing yards, completions. That's because the system was tailored to him. They didn't run the ball, and he threw every down. Yet Sanders didn't hear his name called until the Cleveland Browns selected him in the 5th round of the 2025 draft. Even with the production and the talent, quote unquote, there's still a question. Why did he slide down 5? Despite Sanders' Jackson State and Colorado teams didn't view him as a top quarterback prospect. Quote, he's a really good quarterback, but he doesn't have the traits to jump off the chart. Doesn't mean he's not good. He's just not the fastest, and he doesn't have the strongest arm. He's also, this is going to get like kind of nerdy. He stays in the pocket too long. He takes too many sacks. He doesn't throw the ball away when he needs to. And he's a little too pompous in some areas. His arm strength and mobility are 2 of his main weaknesses, which when you're a quarterback, especially in a mobile league, that's not great. He completed just 40% of his passes beyond 20 yards and 68 of his passes between 10 to 19. Sanders was sacked 94 times in 2 seasons, the most in the FBS during that span, meaning he held on to the ball too long. There were several reports leading up to the draft that criticized Sanders' draft process. CBS News or CBS Sports reported that his spiral down the draft reflects how he carried himself through the process because he tried to be his father without proving he was his father, meaning he was trying to reflect the talent his dad had when he acted that way without having said talent to do so. He had a poor review with the New York Giants, a team that ultimately selected another quarterback in the first round. I'm not going to get into that. Giants general manager said, anonymous NFL assistant coach told the NFL Network in a meeting that Sanders was the worst formal interview ever. Is the juice worth the squeeze? The juice has some flaws. The squeeze of managing personality and a dad equals not being worth it in a lot of circumstances. And the problem is you draft Shedeur. Let's say you draft him in the first round. Your coaching staffs are pegged to the quarterbacks they draft, especially in the first round. You draft him. You have an average, you start out the season 4-6. What's going to stop Deion Sanders from going on a podcast or going to X and tweeting, Shedeur is doing great so far, but the only reason they don't have a better record is the offense doesn't know how to use him. If you're the coaching staff, you're like, well, crap. Now Deion is putting heat on us because his kid's not performing. And let's say you end up with an 8-8 season or whatever it is, 7-10, or what, you're right around the average mark. You know what's going to happen to that coaching staff? They're going to get fired and to fix that. Because remember, you spent a first round pick on this guy. So you're going to fire the current coaching staff and bring on his dad to fix it. So you're out of a job in a year. You have the fact that Deion can tweet or do an interview about his son at any time, and he can criticize your coaching staff at any time. And that's extra pressure. That's an extra circus. Nobody wanted the circus with Kaepernick. Nobody wanted the circus with Tim Tebow. So why would they want the circus with somebody like Shedeur Sanders, who's, he's got a better arm talent, obviously, than Tebow, but Tebow is coachable. Sanders doesn't seem coachable because he's only played for one coach, and that coach is his dad. He's only played for his father. So it's very interesting. And of course, the race baiters, the race baiters came out and said they don't like a confident black man. They like it when a black man talk. And they're like, hold the hell on. The first pick in the NFL draft was Cam Ward. Cam Ward happens to be a black quarterback from Miami. He didn't complain that nobody was talking about him. They try to use all of these things. Oh, it's because they don't like Deion or they're trying to hold him down. It's like, no, Shedeur is average and he's acting like he's John Elway. You can't be both. You can't. It's impossible. And that's what happened. He got too big. His father filled his head. His father failed him by telling him he was the best. Obviously your father's going to tell you you're great, but at the same time, he didn't teach him any humility. And because he didn't have any humility, he went into the draft process feeling like he was owed something. And now he was pushed. It was funny. I was talking to my brother-in-law on Thursday when the draft started, and him and I went back and forth. He was like, what about Shedeur? I was like, Shedeur's not getting picked in the first round. And my boss actually speaks like this. He goes, dude, he's the second best quarterback in the draft. Of course he's going to get drafted. And I told him he's not going to get drafted in the first round. And and my brother-in-law knows football. So this was like a personal challenge when I said this. He's like, no, teams overspend. He's got the name. And I told my brother-in-law, you are 100% right in everything you're saying. except that he brings too much to the table, meaning he's too much of a problem. And then I drove home Thursday night. We got home at like 10:30, and I get a text message from my brother-in-law. Goes, "You were right, man." And he's shocked because he always knows more about the NFL than I do. I have no problem saying it. He's a genius when it comes to the NFL. I cannot believe that Shedeur Sanders didn't get drafted, because every prognosticator had him going in the first round. Even if it was at the end of the first round, he was going in the first round. And I said, dude, his attitude is terrible. Nobody wants to deal with Deion Sanders hovering over their shoulder. You don't want another head coach. If you're the head coach of the football team, you don't want to deal with another head coach hanging over your head, questioning every decision via Twitter every game. So let this be a lesson. I don't know if people will take it as a lesson. They probably won't. But humility still means something. And the NFL was more than happy to show Shedeur Sanders that nobody is bigger. A, nobody's bigger than the league. And B, it is still a privilege to play a child's game for ridiculous sums of money. Will it mean anything in the long run? Probably not. But it's still very interesting to see. All right, folks, that's it for this episode of RickCast. A little bit of a late edition, but I thank you all for hanging out with me. Thank you for coming in late, even if you're Lou. No, I love it, Lou. Thank you for showing up. Please do me a favor on the way. Karate chop, super kick. Give the like button, the top elbow drop, the big boot. Hit the like button. Hit the notification bell. So if I do go late, then you'll be notified of that. And I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Like I said, Thursday is going to be a recorded show. Friday, there's not going to be a live show or a recorded show because my niece is coming into town, and I'm going to try and show her as best a time I can. Anyway, I'll talk to you all tomorrow, though. God bless, ladies and gentlemen. And until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor.